I would like to say that you should be smarter, but I don't know how you could be smarter. We don't know anything about how to improve intelligence, and as well, we don't really know anything about how to improve industriness. But I can tell you that people who are interested come up with a strategy for solving the problem that ahead of them. If you want to know something about yourself, sit on your bed, one night and say to yourself, you got to mean this night, you got to be this wrong, this no no this. What's one thing I'm doing wrong? Not I know I'm doing wrong. Not a good first. Not a good first. You meditate on that. You wait an answer, and it won't be you want you want. Whether we necessary one in this video. We explore some of the best skills for maximizing focus and achieve long-term success. So you can study smarter, not harder. Now I often tell people to fix the thing you repeat every day. Because I people to think of those as trivial charge. You get up, you brush your teeth, you have your breakfast, you know you have your routine that you go through every day, where those probably consume 50% of your life. And people think well your Monday and they not to pay attention to them. It's no. It's like no that's exactly wrong the thing you do every day. Those are the most important things that you do. Hands down. Oh all you have to do is to do the arithmetic. You make an average of 35,000 decisions every single day. We can eventually lead to decision fatigue, a state of mental overload that can impede a person's ability to continue making decisions. And as my strategist determinism explain the more decisions you have to make, the more effective you develop and more difficult it can become. This mental exhaustion can lead to poor choice, procrastination, or even to a tendency to avoid decision altogether. One effective way to reduce decision fatigue is by simplifying daily routines, so that planning meals in advance, maintaining a consistent wardrobe, or establishing structural habits. Additionally, breaking down complex choices into smaller, manageable steps can make decision making feel less overwhelming, helping individuals conserve mental energy for more important tasks. I can tell you that people who are understood come up with a strategy for solving the problem, not has a head up on them, and then when they do whatever they can do, stay to the story. So for example, if you start now today or tomorrow for a couple of hours, 3 hours, and you fill in a Google Calendar, whatever you have to happen to use with a strategy for studying, and list out where all your assessment are due, and all of that when you're going to sit down and study. Then you won't be in a position where you have to cram for 10 hours all day, hopelessly right before. If now, important exam is also a very ineffective way of studying, by the way. I mean, first of all, people who cram for 10 hours, they're studying for 10 hours, but they really because I can't study for 10 hours. I don't have the power of concentration that will enable me that to do that for a period of time. I can measure about 3 hours of intense intellectual activity before I'm ready. Then, as the development in frontiers in human neuroscience found that by learning, where study sessions are spread at our time, can be twice as effective as math learning. This approach enhances like memory retention and recall by coding information into long-term memory. Research consistently shows that students who space out their study perform better on assessment taken weeks later compared to those who cram. In addition to space learning, getting enough sleep play a crucial role in learning and memory. According to the Sleep Foundation, sleep deprivation hinders the brain's ability to create new pathways for recently learned information, making it harder to retain knowledge. And it also the case that if you could study and sleep and then study and then sleep and then study and then sleep, you stay down, then you are much more likely to remember. And also much more likely that you much more likely to remember if you try to recall the material, and so highlighting and that sort of thing isn't very useful. But you reading, closing the book, summarizing what you have read without bending the damn book, that's useful. And the reason for that is that you are practicing remembering, and when you have to practice, if you practice memorization, you have to practice remembering. You don't just go over the thing over the over that will help you with recognizing memory, but it won't help you with recall memory. The best thing you can do is read and write every day. couple of hours every day, write about things you find important, and see if you can discover what you believe to be true, and that will build a foundation and unbelievably virtual research research by Jackson V. was startup. Brigham Young University explore how reading literary fiction is an long person ability to understand other, still known as theories of mind. This refers to human capacity to recognize the other have belief and desire different from their own. In the study, participants were divided into groups and assigned different reading materials. Afterward, they took a test measuring their ability to receive other emotion. The results showed that those who read literary fiction scored significantly higher than those who did not read at all. So what seems to happen in story is that they still. So they watch people watch people, and then they tell story about what they see, but they leave a lot of those story, everything that's boring, hopefully. And then more and more story about exciting get stuff of agreement, and then maybe a great writer come along and write something really interesting, prefer character transformation, and then you will say, well, not fiction, and then you will say, well, that's not true because it's fiction. But then maybe that's not right. Maybe it's more than true. Because you want the truth is mundane morality, and you have already got a master, and what you want is the distribution of interesting experience. And you might think, why it is interesting? Well, that says you don't know. That's the thing that's so cool. When you think about behavior, you tend to think about voluntary behavior, but a motivational state will this habit activate depending on the situation and determines the response for somebody. Example, when you are food deprived and you start to think about food and you start to organize your behavior towards food and as to receive the word that where your body also prepare for food, and so it's useful to think about motivate state as macro. Personality, according to an article from Connection Today, titled "The Scientific Truth Behind Fake to You Make It Mental Imagery and Actual Reception," say common neural circuits that though they have different firing dynamics, this phenomenon is explained by Hess law, which states that neurons that fire together wire together. In other words, if you do something in association with something else, the two things will get interlined at a neural level. This principle highlights the brain's ability to strengthen neural connection through repetition and association. For example, if someone repeatedly visualizes themselves speaking confidently in public, their brain starts to reinforce the same neural pathways used in actual public speaking, potentially improving their real life performance. Even when you're just walking to where you want to go, if you're successfully walking there, your brain tracks what you're doing. There's not observed while you are doing it, and if you want you're doing result in the result you desire, then the dopamine fuels those little neurons that are active and make it them grow and flourish. So, as you practice something when it's working, the circuits that is active and so practicing is smart in dopamine, and that make it stronger and that feels good. It's role. It's part of positive emotion, and so the positive emotion moves you forward, but also encourages you to develop a habit of not practice. And so, one of the things I would pretty well say is don't make a habit of pursuing things that are good for you, because you build that into what happens if you become addicted to someone you know you build a little monster inside you that grow is there's a after goal what is one goal despite everything else not a good outcome. In order to withstand suffering, let's say your life has to have some meaning. Okay, well, that means a bunch of things. Mean that part of the way that you overcome suffering is by making the suffering into something meaningful. And I don't mean that philosophically. I mean that technically you make a mistake. It's cause you suffering, you learn something about if if you don't make that mistake again. In stop on aggressive writing with 258 participant researcher found that those secret to embrace discomfort favor reader recent of achievement and were more likely to encourage aggressive truly into their daily life compared to those who were simply ensuring to focus on the task. Receiving negative experience at a startup process is particularly motivating when both the experience are displayed and discomfort is immediate. This is the life of suffering and this life. Why learn something because you are wrong? Who cares? It makes you suffer. You can who care. So you know if you run out a little scream in the world, little action pardon you. Don't get what if you especially if you 2 years old you burst into tears and cry. And why is that? It's because you don't know what is you don't know where you are and you don't know what you're doing. It's time for some negative emotion. It indicates that you're wrong. That's terrible in some sense because it's almost always mean that your children requires pain. No, I don't believe that exactly because people who people are curious, and to go out and to be curious and go learn new things can be very exciting. And so what it seems to be is that there's a rate of learning that's real fast and that helps you. That's make you cry. But if you get the rest you just right. It's opening enough novelty so that you can benefit from the possibility that you give you a dopamine kick. Fundamentally, you can benefit from the possibility without being overwhelmed by the uncertainty and lemon. And if you can tell when what's happening, this is one of the coolest thing as far as I am concerned.